I was basically Democratic because I was very, very poor growing up. We were really poor, and back then, poor working men was Democrat.
Yes, that's why I registered.
I was that through really recently, through Obama years and everything, and then I got remarried to a Republican. So I'm Republican now, but that doesn't mean I vote by that. I vote by really the agenda items and what they want to accomplish. And I'm closer to a libertarian than I am to anything. But this is a two-party state. That's it.
And closed primaries, and we have closed primaries. So if you're not registered, yes, and in Broward County, if you're not registered as a Democrat, specifically in Broward, your vote has very little sway anywhere.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is,
It is, but for the general, you can go in there and vote your conscience and kind of read and do the thing. Do you find with the way of the world that people are more engaged in local? Because they say all politics are local. Even and you're going to be a state or a federal congresswoman, but it's local. The impact is local.
Yes, right? And I think people forget that. People forget that it is local, even though it's a federal position.
Right.
I wish that more people were interested in actual local politics than they are.
Right.
And one of the problems that I find is the amount of people that just focus on the presidential race, for example. And I'm not saying that's not important. But in reality, for most people's daily lives, what matters more is your city commission, your county commission, and your state legislature matters infinitely more to regular people. And so and also municipal races tend to be nonpartisan, which I really like. So there's so many more benefits to being more involved locally.
Right. Plus all the judges and all of those things.
I don't think we should be able to vote for those.
But we can.
Yes, I know.
And if you don't go there and give your votes, I also don't like the extended incumbency for any position.
Right.
The just forever.
So everyone wants term limits.
I think there is a good reason for term limits, although there are some cons too, because you have the ineffectiveness of somebody's last term, or then they don't care as much. They could, a possibility. They don't care, their ineffectiveness, or they can become corrupt.
Well, unless you get the money out, inevitably most of them are corrupt. And so what you're doing is, you're just having more of them come through.
Yeah.
And that's what and I'll support term limits. Like if most people in my district said this is what we want, I have no problem supporting it.
Yeah.
I just have always been very clear that I don't think that solves the problem the way they think it solves the problem.
Nothing is a one solution.
No, but here's the thing. If you got, let's say hypothetically, you got the corporate money out and people were there just literally representing their constituents, right? Then most people wouldn't even have a problem with someone being a lifelong public servant if they were actually serving. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, yes.
And so if you got the money out and then you're literally staying there because your people really like you.
Yeah.
When you look at someone even like a Bernie Sanders who has extremely high approval ratings amongst his constituents, that says something to me. Now, again, this isn't about Bernie in particular, but just, so there are people that if they want to be a lifelong public servant, the problem is that these are not public servants. They're career politicians.
They're career politicians. And I think that there's a problem in our country in that our leaders don't look like you or me. I mean, they more look like you or me because they're white.
Yes,
but that's
true.
it. These are all old people who run our country, very old. And it gets to the point to where people are just going and voting. It's the Distinguished Gentleman Eddie Murphy movie where he won a Congress seat because his name was the same as the congressperson who died.
It was like Jefferson. Yeah, that was so funny.
And it really just goes to show that people are they get into habits.
They vote party. And they vote names.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is why we get people in their 90s who are still in politics. They're out of touch. And maybe they're still cognitively okay.
I don't think
But they're out of touch. They're not.
I'm
trying to be fair.
No,
but they're out of touch for sure.
They're out of touch. And a big part of the problem is that we have such low voter turnout. So, for example, our Congresswoman.
Yes.
She's been there for 20 years, okay? And a lot of people don't like her. She's not particularly popular. So why is she still there? Because we get a 14% voter turnout in a closed primary.
Yeah.
Of that, half vote for the Democratic ticket and the other half are, Republican ticket. Or it's probably, maybe it's even 60-40 Dem in our district, whatever. So you have 14% voter turnout. That's how few people it takes for her to stay there. And then because we're such a blue district, that person wins the general. So all of the NPAs that come in there in November.
So the real race is for the primary.
It's the only race that matters in our district. And that's why people like her can sit in those seats.
When is this?
August 20th.
August 20th. So it's coming up a couple months away. We've got some work to do then.
Oh, we need money. What it really comes down to for us is going to be a ground game. We're canvassing and knocking doors, and that's what it takes. And yes, money does help that.
Yeah.
It helps facilitate that. It lets us bring in more people. It lets us have more. It's going to be quick. This is a short campaign, the way that we did this. Last time that I ran in 20, Debbie knew at least a year out that she was being challenged. And this time she had 5 months.
Yeah.
And
because,
by
she's
design.
got deep pockets, and they can do some counter.
And they will, and AIPAC is going to come for me.
Sure. So that's a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
So because that's really deep pockets, and it's how PAC works, in my understanding. They're totally independent from the candidate, right?
This one is
double blind.
Well, you mean like AIPAC PAC, for example?
Well, as far as or super PAC.
Super PACs, right? Yeah, super PACs are totally independent from a candidate.
But
they
do things
coordinate.
on their behalf.
Correct.
Yeah, because.
And they're not supposed to coordinate, but we all know that that's not reality, right? Like they're not directly working together, but we know that that's not reality.
So I will tell you, I'm not a gotcha interviewer.
Yeah,
this is not what this is.
Yeah.
So I'll just ask straight up, what is it different between you and what we've had for 20 years? And I say we, I don't live there anymore, but I was born and raised there. I know people there. I'm only 10 minutes from the line.
Right.
But I don't live in that district. But the people in Broward County, South Broward County, how would it be different with you in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah. In terms of policy, everything would be different, with the exception of that she and I are both pro-choice, which that's basically the only thing that I think we have. And I'm also fine with the LGBTQ group. That's like her two big ones. Like that's what makes her be a Democrat somehow. She's a war
Identity
hawk.
politics, never healthy.
And she, for example, she takes money from the military-industrial complex. So to people in our district who are not pro-war or people who would like to see the end of wars for profit, that is not going to happen when your congressperson takes money from Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and so on. So I don't have any conflicts of interest. I have no conflicts of interest because I don't take any special interest or corporate money.
But is that because you're not in it yet?
No.
So once somebody gets in it, how do they stay that way?
Well, there are plenty of people in Congress that don't take corporate money, but here's the thing which I think is the distinguishing factor. So people, let's say like AOC, Maxwell Frost, people who are really fighting the good fight. I'm not judging. This is not a judgment, it's an observation. Okay. So even though they don't take the corporate money, they're scared to get ousted by that corporate money putting in someone else. Even though they're not
with
beholden,
us, you're against us.
Right. Yeah. So even though they're not necessarily nothing in my mind would make me think that AOC is beholden to AIPAC, okay? But that doesn't mean she's not scared that they're going to come in and primary challenge her and kick her out. So she might act differently. And so the difference between me and anybody else that I've seen is that I don't care if I keep that job.
Right.
So this is it's like I don't need it. And then again, I'm not 26, 27.
Your children are independent
I have
now?
a 23 and a 17, and which is, mostly. The 17.
Especially,
the jury's still out on that one, but you know.
But they're not. They're when you're in Washington, fair amount of time, and
my kids are baked enough, like they're cooked enough. So that is not.
My kids
an
wouldn't
issue.
move out, so we moved out.
Oh. You just
try that one.
have
We
the
left.
house. Oh yeah,
we bought a house on the beach and we moved. And
I have a camper that's waiting for me on my friend's land in Georgia. So
I'm with you. We have from 20 to 30. We have 4 of them.
So you
and
understand.
Now they're roommates and tenants instead of our kids, basically.
At least are they paying their way?
Yeah.
Well, that's
all of them, but the youngest one who's in college still. We let him ride for free. But
I have one on payroll, one off payroll. But no, I have no desire to fight to stay in that job. And I think that is a huge distinction between me and a lot of people that are there.
So what's the calling now to do this thing? Because you're going to be going through, the energy, the emotions, it's talk about a hamster wheel on steroids.
It's a roller coaster on fire.
Wow. I haven't heard that one yet.
That's my analogy. You're in the front car.
Yeah.
And the back car is on fire. and you got to get to the end of the ride before the front car is engulfed in the flames,
Right.
and the back car. So you're racing the roller coaster while the flames are moving up.
And you've
That's
got
what it
nowhere to
feels
go
like.
because you're in the front.
Correct.
Except for hands up. And
Exactly. That's it. That's what it is.
So what is the draw then? Is it because of your idealistic, views that you had trying to become a lobbyist, and then that didn't work out, and then there was life that happened, and now is your chance?
Yeah.
And let's go for the whole ball of wax. 'Cause that's pretty
It's a
aggressive.
kind of well, in 20, my now business partner had suggested that I do that. He had suggested that I had been told for a lot of years that I would be somebody that should run for office, you should do this, and there's really some reasons that I didn't do that. Most of which is that I don't lie, I can't be bought, and I smoke weed.
Okay.
And those three things for years were sort of like, and I'm not going to hide it, I'm not going to lie about it, and this is what it is. So now all of those are selling points. It's
Isn't that
fascinating.
funny?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm in style now.
Just wait. Right.
So he had suggested that I do it, and he was the first person that didn't only suggest it, but said, okay, and I'll help. And so we did it as a team
Somebody
effort.
really believed.
Yeah, and so we did it as a team effort. But my
That was
mission,
for the 2020?
that was in 2020,
Okay.
and we got close to 30%.
Is this why he's the next partner?
No, he's still my
Oh,
partner.
he's still your partner. I
He's
thought you were
still
like,
my partner.
You did this to me. You're
No,
out.
he's still stuck in this.
Okay,
with me.
good.
He's here. So we did that, and we did amazingly well for not knowing what we were doing.
Yeah.
We got close to 30% in a pandemic.
That's really incredible.
Lost
Yeah.
8 weeks of canvassing, raised $400,000 without, like, when I tell you I did not know, I did not know. And the truth is that this is something that I'm actually good at doing. When we talk about the idea of being a public servant, and we talk about the idea, and our mission is transforming politics into service, I'm good at it. I'm good at it. I'm good at meeting different groups of people. I'm good at building coalitions between people. I'm good at coming up with solutions to problems. I'm good at serving. So, and even our first campaign, I ran a service campaign, and we're doing that this time. Now this time, because we're so short, I'm focusing on a project, and so we're going to be doing a Gen 24 community closet. We're going to be collecting lightly worn stuff, and then I will be coordinating with somebody who has a mobile boutique and doing distributions in different neighborhoods. So it's really about service.
Yeah.
And I'm
So would you
just
call it grassroots for the most part?
it completely
Yeah,
grassroots.
good.
I mean, like we'll take max individual donation. A max donation is $3,300 per person, $6,600 per couple. And so, and I get that for regular people,
How do
that's a lot of
businesses
money,
come
but how do businesses?
Yeah, contribute.
Well,
What is
there's
that?
either in kind donations, which is okay. So you donate your video editing services, but it would be an in kind donation from an individual.
Okay.